our people's immune system are way down, and so it is that they are susceptible to the virus itself, and so many of our people have perished because of that. And I would hope that we can learn from the past and learn from the things that we have experienced during this time, so that our people will consider eating better and being more aware of their foods and their health and their diet. The health and the diet of the Diné have changed considerably since the early history of the Diné. Back in those days, there was a lot of food in that was planted, like the corn, squash, beans, and other types of food that would be planted and harvested. And there were so many different ways to prepare all of those different foods. Corn had many different ways that it could be prepared and served as food. And so a lot of the foods in that were of the vegetable nature. And of course they had the other foods in that they would harvest in season, which was berries and nuts and those types of foods that were out there in the natural setting. But it was that down through the years, we've had a lot of different foods in that we don't use anymore. The yucca plant, for example, in the language of our people, we call that hashkan. But today, it's the word hashkan is used to describe the banana. But actually, the original hashkan is the yucca fruit. And there were so many different ways to prepare the yucca fruit as well. You can't just take it off of the plant because it's very bitter. But when you let it dry out and then you grind it into a fine powder, you can use it as additive in so many different foods and so on. So there's a lot of cactus fruit in that was dried and used in the wintertime for adding to different foods and so on. But other plants in that were kind of being forgotten, as the juniper tree branches and so on. There's so many different foods that the ashes and then the pulverized and ground up dry juniper was very much a part of the diet. But as for medicinal purposes, these foods were also very good for their health. And it was not very often that they did not harvest enough of the wild plants, everything that from sage and Navajo tea. And those are just a couple. There are so many different plants in that are still out there in great abundance. And these were harvested and stored, and they were used in the various times of the year when that plant was not normally available on the countryside. So there was a lot of food in that we don't use anymore, and people don't even know about them. But it is that the foods are still there. It was not unusual for the Diné person to have a cup of sage every day. And this is just sage that you would put into a cup, and you would make it into a tea, and you would drink that. And it was considered it was a very necessary part of the diet as far as something to drink. And it had very great medicinal purposes and that. And so today we don't have that happening anymore. Too many of our people prefer the fast foods and that are available from all different places. Fast foods in the form of hamburgers and fries and other types of foods and that have been processed and have a lot of additives and chemicals and preservatives and that. And so it is that what happens is our people have developed the obesity and that because of the types of foods that we allow ourselves to consume in great abundance. And in so doing as well, there's the damage in that it does to our people's immune system. And so they're very much in jeopardy as far as being able to have other diseases. Diabetes and cancer, and some of these sicknesses and illnesses and that have caused a lot of discomfort and health among our people. And with this pandemic that we're experiencing, that the hands of this virus, our people's immune system are way down, and so it is that they are susceptible to the virus itself, and so many of our people have perished because of that. And I would hope that we can learn from the past and learn from the things that we have experienced during this time, so that our people will consider eating better and being more aware of their foods and their health and their diet. It is that on the reservation, here we are, about the size of West Virginia as the Navajo reservation, and we only have about 13 grocery stores. And the grocery stores, of course, they carry just the standard supply of foods and that, but there's a lot of things that we're lacking as far as getting the foods we need. And one of the favorite foods is rye bread and tortillas and a lot of starchy type of carbon foods and that. And these types of foods, they have been processed, and the flour bluebird that they call it is a favorite flour. It's a bleached, enriched flour, and that in itself is kind of, it tells you a whole lot about the foods and that our people are eating that is not very helpful to their health. And so those are the things that we observe, and then also the things that we are told.